Billionaire husband and mistress throw cake on pregnant wife, but she makes them regret it. The baby shower turns into a public execution when a cake smashes Sophia's face and her husband, Liam, laughs the loudest. The crowd, once filled with joy, goes silent as the thick frosting slides down her cheeks. She stands frozen, her heart pounding. Liam, her husband, wipes a tear from his eye, his laughter echoing around the room. "Perfect timing, don't you think?" he says, as if it's some twisted joke. The cake, once a symbol of celebration, now sits in pieces on her dress, the sweet aroma mixed with her shame. Sophia's eyes burn with humiliation, but she's too stunned to move. Around her the guests murmur, some whispering in discomfort, others clearly enjoying the spectacle. But it's his laugh that cuts the deepest. The man she loved. The father of her child is mocking her in front of everyone as frosting drips down her pregnant belly. Liam raises his glass with Harper beside him, mocking the woman he once vowed to love. "Here's to new beginnings," he toasts, a smirk on his face, "and to the past. May it stay where it belongs." Harper, standing too close for comfort, holds her glass high, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Sophia's world tilts. The betrayal hits her all over again. How long had they been planning this? The mockery, the laughter, it wasn't enough for them to humiliate her. They wanted to make sure everyone knew she was nothing, that she meant nothing to him anymore. The cruel twist cuts deeper when Sophia realizes the woman beside her husband is the same one who once held her bridal veil, her maid of honor, the woman she had trusted the most. Sophia's chest tightens. How long had Harper been slipping in and out of their lives, wearing that mask of friendship while planning her destruction? She remembers the day she asked Harper to stand by her, to be her support, her strength. Now that same woman stands there hand in hand with the man who swore to love her forever, sharing looks that betray something far darker. Sophia tries to catch her breath, her hands shaking at her sides, the weight of it all suffocating her. Flashbacks reveal Sophia gave up her family fortune and future for a man who now throws her to wolves in designer suits. She had it all once, a life filled with luxury, power, and respect. A life she walked away from because Liam promised her the world. He had whispered sweet lies, said everything she wanted to hear, and she believed him. She left behind everything, her family, her wealth, the future she had been promised. But now, looking at them standing together like some twisted couple, she wonders how blind she had been. She had sacrificed it all for love, and all it had gotten her was this moment of crushing betrayal. Once the Queen of Los Angeles, now a punchline. Sophia watches headlines label her cake-faced and cast out. She had once been the epitome of grace, beauty, and sophistication, the woman everyone envied. But now, she's the joke. The headlines flash across her mind like a slap in the face. Cake-faced socialite pregnant and dethroned. People who had once kissed her feet now laugh behind her back. Her friends, the ones she thought she could trust, are just waiting to see her fall harder. She's no longer the star of the city, she's the punchline of a cruel joke. No one's laughing at but them. Harper's whisper sends chills. She won't survive childbirth anyway, Harper says, and Liam doesn't even flinch. It's the final stab in the heart. Sophia's hands curl into fists, but she can't move. The words hang in the air, suffocating her, as if the baby, the life she's carrying, doesn't even matter, as if she doesn't matter. Harper's eyes gleam with malice, and Liam, he just stands there, unbothered, like it's nothing. The man she once loved, the father of her child, doesn't care if she lives or dies. He doesn't even flinch at Harper's cruel words. It's as if the baby, the life they created together, was never part of the plan. It's all just part of the game to them. Her water breaks on the rooftop floor, but Sophia's eyes stay locked on the ones who planned her downfall. Pain rips through her, but it doesn't matter. Nothing matters except them, the people who've destroyed her, laughed at her, and taken everything she loved. She doesn't even register the wetness between her legs. Her mind is consumed with rage. She's not gonna let this go. She won't let them win. As the room spins around her, Sophia's resolve hardens. They may have taken everything from her, but they won't take her dignity. She won't let them. As the first contraction hits, she grits her teeth and takes a step toward them, knowing that this war is far from over. Sophia wakes in a cold, sterile hospital room. The air smells like disinfectant, and the harsh white lights above her burn into her tired eyes. She blinks, trying to clear the fog from her mind, but a sharp pain shoots through her body. Her heart races when she realizes she's alone. No Liam, no Harper, no family. Just silence, the kind that feels like abandonment. She lifts her hand, weak and trembling, to her belly, her fingers searching for the life she carried, the child that had been torn from her, the baby. She almost lost her. Her pulse quickens when she feels the emptiness. It's a hollowness that sinks deep into her chest. She opens her mouth to scream, but the sound barely escapes. Her voice is gone, and she feels as though the world has just swallowed her. She struggles to sit up, the IVs in her arm pulling at her skin as she tries to move, but the effort is too much. Tears fill her eyes, not just from the pain but from the emptiness of it all. She had been betrayed, humiliated, and now, even in her most vulnerable moment, she is alone. Her child, barely hanging on to life, is out of her reach. "Where is everyone?" she whispers to the empty room, but no one answers. The silence is deafening. The beep of a machine is the only sound she hears as it monitors her fading heartbeat. She can't even remember how she got here or what happened to her baby. Her breath catches and the ache in her chest deepens. What had they done to her? What had Liam and Harper done to her? The hospital feels like a prison, and she's the forgotten prisoner. No visitors, no calls, nothing. The betrayal weighs heavily on her like 1,000 stones sitting on her chest. And in that silence, she begins to understand the depth of it. She has been discarded, like the cake on her face. Her life has been reduced to nothing. Sophia stares at the ceiling, her vision blurry, but her mind is clear. She may be broken physically, but mentally she's awake. The rage burns through her veins, hotter than the pain in her body. No one came to see her, not Liam, not Harper, no one. And in that absence, the truth becomes glaringly clear. They think she's weak. They think she'll just roll over and let them destroy her. But they have no idea what she's capable of. "I will make you pay," she whispers, the words barely audible, but filled with venom. Her body aches as she tries to move, but she has to. She has to get out of this bed, out of this hospital, and find the strength to fight back, for her baby, for herself. Liam had made a grave mistake. He thought he could break her, humiliate her, and that she would just fade into the background of his life. He was wrong. As machines beep and nurses whisper, Sophia makes a vow. She will destroy the man who nearly killed her child. She will take back everything he stole from her, the love, the trust, the life, and she'll do it with every weapon she has. No one will walk all over her again. Not Liam, not Harper, not anyone. She promises herself, as the darkness tries to swallow her again, that when she leaves this hospital, it will be to bring the weight of justice down on those who betrayed her. They will regret underestimating her. She will make sure of it. The door to her hospital room creaks open, and a nurse steps inside with a hesitant expression. She doesn't say anything as she hands Sophia her phone. Her face pained, Sophia takes it in confusion, her fingers fumbling slightly. What could this be? When she unlocks the screen, her stomach drops. The video is everywhere. It's a clip from the baby shower, a moment she will never forget. Her face covered in cake, Liam laughing like it was some joke, the laughter in the background, the cruel comments from the crowd. It's all there. And the worst part? It's going viral. Millions of views, people sharing, laughing, mocking her. The humiliation that had been planned for her now plays on repeat for the world to see. Tears sting her eyes as she watches herself covered in cake, helpless and humiliated. She can't breathe as the weight of it all crashes down on her. This wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was public. The whole world was laughing at her. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, but she knew she couldn't. The damage had been done. The nurse leaves quietly, and Sophia is left alone again, staring at the screen that now reflects her darkest moment. Her hands shake as she scrolls through the endless comments. The public's cruelty cuts deeper than any wound she's ever felt. She feels herself disappearing into the screen. Her identity no longer hers, but a viral spectacle for the world to consume. The comments come in fast and furious. Some are too cruel to even read, others worse than she could have imagined. Cake-faced bimbo, pregnant gold digger. What did she expect? People had become savage. They didn't care that she was pregnant or that this had been her most vulnerable moment. They only cared about the drama, about the spectacle. The tabloids are just as ruthless, splashing her face, cake covered and broken, across their front pages. They call her a fool, a woman too blinded by luxury to see the truth. They twist the story to make her the villain, to make it look like she deserved every moment of it. There's no sympathy for her. Only for Liam and Harper, who come out of it smelling like roses. The public loves a villain, and she's been cast as one. Sophia's phone buzzes again with a new notification. Liam and Harper, the perfect couple. Sophia, a cake-faced tragedy. The headlines mock her with every word, every image. She's no longer a woman. She's just a joke, a target for people's entertainment. But it doesn't matter. It only fuels the fire within her. She won't be the punchline of anyone's story. Not anymore. She clenches her fists, her nails digging into her palms. The war is just beginning. They've humiliated her, but they've underestimated her power. Let them laugh. Let them think she's weak. She's going to show them what happens when you push her too far. Sophia hires an investigator, determined to uncover the truth behind the betrayal. She spent too long playing the role of the good wife, too long pretending that everything was fine. Now the masks come off. The investigator digs deep, and what he finds shocks her. Harper's pattern becomes clear. She's been seducing powerful men, then using her influence to destroy their relationships. Sophia had trusted her. Harper had been there for her, standing by her side as her maid of honor, holding her hand as she walked down the aisle. But now Sophia sees the truth. Harper's friendship had been a lie, a carefully crafted ruse to get close to her. To get close to Liam, to break them apart from the inside, the investigator uncovers a trail of destruction, a string of relationships Harper had dismantled, all for her own gain. She wasn't just a mistress. She was a predator, using her charm and manipulation to climb the social ladder. Every man she had slept with, every woman she had destroyed, had all been part of her plan. Sophia's blood runs cold as the truth settles in. The woman she had once called her sister, the woman she had trusted with her life, had been nothing more than a cold-hearted schemer playing the long game. She feels sick to her stomach, but there's no time for pity. There's only time for revenge. Sophia's plan is taking shape. It's all starting to make sense. Now Harper had been playing a dangerous game, and it was time for Sophia to take back control. Sophia spends sleepless nights combing through old contracts and encrypted files. It's slow work, but she's determined to find what she needs. And then it hits her. The proof she's been looking for, hidden in the fine print, buried deep within her family's old tech contracts. Liam didn't just marry her for love. He married her for her family's fortune. But that wasn't enough. No, Liam had gone further. He had stolen her family's technology, using it to build the empire that now stood tall and unchallenged. Every deal Liam had made, every penny he had earned, had come from the very foundation her father had built. The evidence is there, clear as day. The stolen patents, the illegal transfers, the backroom deals he had made with shady partners. Liam had never earned a cent of his wealth honestly. It had all come at her family's expense. Sophia can't believe what she's seeing. The man she thought she knew, the man she had loved, had been using her from the start. He didn't just destroy her emotionally, he had taken everything. Her family had worked for every dream, every ambition they had was now tainted by his greed. She sits back, staring at the documents in front of her, her fingers trembling. This is it. This is the weapon she's been looking for. She's going to expose him for who he truly is. Liam's empire is built on lies, and now it's time for it to crumble. As Sophia digs deeper, more pieces of the puzzle fall into place. She uncovers a devastating truth. Her father never disowned her. Liam had manipulated them both, pulling the strings from the shadows to isolate her from her family. He had convinced her that her father's decision to cut her off was her fault, that her family had abandoned her because of her marriage. But now the truth is undeniable. It was all part of Liam's plan. He had used every weapon at his disposal to make sure she felt alone, to make sure she would rely only on him. Sophia's heart breaks as the realization sinks in. She had been so blinded by love, so convinced that Liam was the man he had promised to be, that she never saw the lies. Her father had only been trying to protect her, and she had turned her back on him. Liam had manipulated them both, turning her against the one person who had always had her best interests at heart. Her father's love had never wavered. It was Liam who had poisoned her mind, creating the rift between them. But now that Sophia knows the truth, she's filled with a new kind of determination. Liam's betrayal goes deeper than she could have ever imagined, and it's time for him to pay. Sophia doesn't waste any time. She knows what she has to do now. She has the evidence to destroy Liam, but there's still one more piece of the puzzle she needs to expose. She begins digging through hospital records, desperate for something that will prove her suspicions. And that's when she finds it: security footage from the night she nearly lost her child. Liam wasn't just a cruel husband. He was a monster who had gone so far as to bribe doctors to hide the complications that nearly killed her. He had paid off medical professionals to ignore the warning signs, to let her pregnancy spiral into danger. The footage shows him in the hospital corridors, handing over cash, his face twisted with malicious intent. The video makes her stomach churn. The weight of his betrayal hits her harder than anything else. She had trusted him, loved him, and he had gone behind her back to ensure that her pregnancy failed. For what? For control. For power. For the wealth that her baby represented. The betrayal is not just emotional anymore. It's criminal. Liam's plan to steal everything from her had escalated to a level she never imagined. He didn't just ruin her life. He tried to take her future. But this will destroy him. She won't let him get away with it. Not after everything he's done. Sophia's heart races as the final pieces of the puzzle snap into place. The woman she had once called her sister, Harper, had been feeding Liam her secrets for years. All the things she had confided in her. All the vulnerabilities she had shared in trust had been weaponized against her. Harper was never her ally. She was always a tool in Liam's plan. A spy who had worked behind the scenes to destroy Sophia from the inside out. Every betrayal, every lie had been orchestrated by both of them, and it makes Sophia sick to her core. Harper's role in the plot to ruin her life becomes crystal clear. She wasn't just a mistress. She had been playing the long game. She had been Liam's accomplice all along, feeding him information about Sophia's every move, every weakness, every moment of doubt. Harper had been there, waiting for the right time to strike. The thought of her sister, the one person she had trusted the most, stabbing her in the back, cuts deeper than anything else. It was never about love or loyalty. It was always about power. Harper had seen Sophia as a threat and had worked to tear her down, to destroy her and take everything she had. Sophia's hands tremble as she thinks about all the times she had called Harper for advice, for support, only to realize that it was all part of a twisted game. The realization that Harper was the one feeding Liam all her secrets ignites a fire within Sophia. She knows exactly what she has to do. She can't let this go on any longer. She's done being the victim. Now she's going to take control. She starts by leaking the evidence, the stolen tech, the medical cover-ups, the insider deals, and the darkest truths about Liam's empire. It's all too much to keep hidden, and she knows the world will want to hear it. The truth will bring Liam down. Her first step is to send anonymous emails to every major news outlet, every investigative reporter she can find. The documents go out, the video clips are uploaded, and soon, the world is engulfed in the scandal. Liam's carefully built empire starts to crumble under the weight of his lies. The public's reaction is swift and brutal. Liam, once seen as the golden boy of the business world, is now a villain in the eyes of millions. Sophia watches it all unfold from the safety of her apartment, her hands shaking as the phone buzzes with updates. The tabloids can't get enough of the story. The videos go viral. The news spreads like wildfire, and soon Liam is scrambling to salvage what's left of his reputation. But it's too late. The damage has been done. His secrets are out, and the world is watching. Liam never saw this coming. The empire he built on lies and deceit is now crumbling before him. And Sophia? She's just getting started. Sophia thought she had won. She had taken down Liam's empire, exposed his darkest secrets to the world, and watched as his reputation crumbled. But Liam is not a man who goes down without a fight. The leak is traced back to her, and soon the tables are turned. Liam files a defamation lawsuit against her, claiming that she's the one who caused the damage. He doesn't just want revenge. He wants it all. Full custody of their child, every asset she owns, her freedom. Sophia feels the weight of his threat pressed down on her like a ton of bricks. Everything she has worked for, everything she thought she had gained, is now in jeopardy. The legal battle is fierce, and Liam's wealth and influence make him a formidable opponent. He uses every trick in the book to drag her through the mud, to paint her as a schemer, a liar, and a woman unfit to raise their child. But Sophia doesn't back down. The fight is far from over. She may have lost the first round, but she's not going to let Liam destroy her. He's underestimated her before, and now it's his turn to feel the full force of her fury. The legal battle rages on, and every day feels like another defeat. But Sophia knows she's not finished yet. She's just waiting for the right moment to strike back. Liam might have the power, but she has the truth, and that truth will set her free. As if the battle weren't hard enough, Sophia is hit with another devastating blow. Her late mother's will surfaces, rewritten to disinherit her unless she divorces Liam within 72 hours. The shock of it hits her like a physical blow. How could her mother have known what would happen? Why would she leave her in this impossible situation? The will is clear. If she doesn't cut ties with Liam, she will lose everything. The wealth, the legacy, everything her family had worked for is now tied to her decision. Sophia's mind races. This is the final test. Liam is already taking her to court. Now her own family has turned against her in death. The walls are closing in and Sophia is running out of time. The pressure is unbearable. She feels like she's drowning in a sea of betrayal, and every step she takes only pulls her further under. But she won't give up. Sophia's heart is heavy, but she knows what she has to do. The truth is her only weapon, and she will fight until the end. Liam won't win. Not like this. Desperation pushes Sophia to do something she never thought she would. She breaks into her old estate, the place where she grew up, where memories of happier times still linger. She's looking for one thing, proof of the will's forgery. She knows it's the only way she can fight back against Liam and his malicious control. But when she gets inside, she sees something that makes her blood run cold. Harper is already there. Sophia's eyes widen as she watches Harper standing in the study, going through the drawers. Harper looks up, and the smug look on her face tells Sophia everything she needs to know. "You really thought you could beat us, didn't you?" Harper taunts. Sophia can't speak, her throat tight with emotion. All she wants is to get to the evidence, but Harper stands in her way, blocking her path. In that moment, Sophia knows this is the final confrontation. The fight she's been avoiding is here, and she has no choice but to face it. Head on. She's not just fighting for her fortune anymore, she's fighting for her future. But Harper has the upper hand, and the stakes are higher than ever. Harper doesn't give Sophia a chance to react. Before she can make a move, Harper pulls out a match and lights it, sending a small flame flickering across the room. With a sinister smile, she sets the evidence, Sophia's last chance, on fire. The papers, the proof, the documents that could save her future are consumed by the flames in an instant. Sophia watches helpless as everything she had worked for burns before her eyes. "No," Sophia screams, but it's too late. The fire grows, consuming everything in its path. Harper watches her with cold satisfaction, knowing she's won. But even as the flames burn away the last of the evidence, Sophia's heart is set. She may have lost this battle, but the war isn't over. She still has one weapon left, the truth, and she's not going down without a fight. As the smoke fills the room and the fire rages on, Sophia steps back, her mind already working on her next move. Harper may have won today, but she won't be the one to write the final chapter of this story. Sophia sat in the dimly lit study, her fingers trembling as they ran over the prenup. She had gone through it so many times before, but tonight something felt different. She noticed something small buried deep in the fine print that would change everything. A clause. A clause that could end Liam's empire. It was a simple line, but its weight hit her like a freight train. If she filed for divorce on the grounds of betrayal, she had the power to claim everything: his assets, his company, his fortune. The clause was designed to protect Liam, but it was also the key to her freedom. Sophia knew she had to play this carefully. One wrong move and she would lose everything. The baby growing inside her, her pride, her dignity, all could slip through her fingers. But if she played her cards right, she could walk away with everything. and Liam would be left with nothing but his lies. The thought of it made her stomach churn with a mix of fury and satisfaction. She could feel the weight of the decision on her chest, heavy and suffocating. Could she do it? Could she destroy him? She didn't know, but the clause was right in front of her, waiting to be used. For once, she held all the power. She couldn't back down now, not after everything he'd done, not after all the pain he'd caused. It was time to finally take control. Sophia stared at the court documents spread out before her. Her pulse raced as she realized this was her one shot, her only chance to expose Liam for everything he was. The evidence was all there: his manipulation, his lies, his affair with Harper, and the falsified business deals. It was all wrapped up in a neat little package, ready to be unwrapped in front of the world. But with one move, it could all slip away. The courtroom was her stage, and Liam had no idea what was coming. She knew the risks. If she couldn't make this work, everything would be lost: her reputation, her future, her baby. But she couldn't back down now, not when she was so close to the truth, not when Liam had taken everything from her. This was her moment to finally get justice. Sophia had learned the hard way that she couldn't trust anyone, especially not Liam. But this time, the cards were in her hands. The stakes were higher than ever before. There was no turning back, one shot, no second chances. The tech summit was the perfect backdrop for Liam's latest PR stunt. The grand stage, the flashing cameras, the bright lights. It was the ideal setting for his public image. The crowd was on edge, waiting for the next big reveal. Liam stood tall, his smile sharp and calculated. Beside him stood Harper, looking every bit the perfect woman, poised, graceful, and stunning. Just like the life he'd built for himself. The world had no idea what was coming. As the spotlight focused on him, Liam dropped to one knee in front of Harper, holding a small velvet box in his hand. The crowd gasped, and the room fell silent. The proposal was everything he had planned for, perfectly timed, perfectly staged. The world would see this as the ultimate power move, a show of loyalty, commitment, and success. But what they didn't know was the ugly truth. Liam wasn't just proposing to Harper because he loved her. He was proposing to keep up the perfect image. The truth didn't matter. All that mattered was the image he had carefully crafted. And Harper? She was just a pawn in his game, a piece he could move around whenever it suited him. But little did Liam know, the lies were about to come crashing down. Sophia stormed into the summit hall, her eyes blazing with anger, her heels clicking loudly on the marble floor as she marched up to the stage. The crowd didn't know what was happening. They were too caught up in the fairy tale unfolding before them, Liam's perfect proposal. The world watched as he took Harper's hand, ready to make her his wife. But Sophia had other plans. She could feel the heat of the spotlight on her as she grabbed the microphone, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. "You think this is real?" she shouted, her voice trembling with fury. "This is all a lie. Liam isn't proposing out of love. He's proposing to keep his empire intact. He's been lying to you all." The crowd gasped, confused whispers running through the room. Sophia stepped forward, cradling her baby in her arms. "He's been cheating on me, with her," she continued, pointing at Harper. "All this perfect life he's built, it's built on lies and deceit." The gasps turned to murmurs. Sophia could feel the weight of their stares. The truth was out. Liam's world was about to come crashing down. The room was in chaos. Liam's perfect world was shattering in front of him, piece by piece. But Sophia wasn't done yet. She wasn't going to let him twist the truth again. "Let's talk about the affair," Sophia said, her voice sharp, cutting through the noise. "Liam didn't just cheat with Harper. He's been using his power to blackmail people to silence anyone who got in his way. He's been covering up crimes. His business dealings are filled with corruption. I have the proof." The crowd went silent. Sophia reached into her bag and pulled out a folder, tossing it onto the stage. "You think I don't have everything?" she said, glaring at Liam. "I have your secret deals, your lies, your shady investments. I have the blackmail trail that proves everything." The room was in shock as Liam's dirty secrets spilled out into the open. The world was seeing him for who he really was, a man who had used others to build his empire, a man who had destroyed everything and everyone in his path for the sake of power. Harper stood frozen beside him, her face pale as the truth unfolded before her. She had been a part of it all, a part of his lies, and now it was all coming undone. Liam tried to keep his composure, but the panic was evident in his eyes. He reached for the mic, trying to speak over the chaos, but the words were getting caught in his throat. "This is all a misunderstanding," he stammered, but no one was listening. The board members who had been quietly observing from the back of the room were already moving toward the stage. One of them stepped forward, his face grim. "Liam," he said, his voice cold, "we've seen enough. Your actions have cost the company more than you realize." The room went silent as the reality hit Liam. The board members had been watching. They knew everything. His empire, everything he had worked so hard to build, was slipping away. The man from the board continued, "Effective immediately, you're removed from your position. We're taking control." Liam's face turned pale. He opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. The board had made their decision. His reign was over. The empire he had worked so hard to control, built on lies and manipulation, was now crumbling at his feet. Sophia stood tall, her heart racing as she watched the man who had once controlled everything lose it all in front of her. It was a beautiful sight. As Liam stood there unable to speak, Harper's face twisted with anger. She turned to him, her eyes full of betrayal. "You promised me everything," she hissed. "You said I was your future, but I was just a distraction to you." Without warning, she slapped him across the face. The sound echoed through the hall. The crowd gasped. Liam stumbled back, stunned. "I never loved you," she sneered, her voice filled with venom. "You were just a pawn in my game." The truth was out, and it was more painful than either of them could have imagined. Sophia raced backstage, her heart pounding in her chest. The chaos of the summit was nothing compared to the fear that gripped her now. She reached the dressing room, her mind racing with one terrifying thought. Her baby. She had left her little one in the crib, safe and sound. But as she opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. The crib was empty. Her heart stopped. Panic set in as she frantically searched the room, calling out her baby's name. There was no answer, no sign of her child. Where was her baby? The room was eerily quiet, and Sophia's worst nightmare was unfolding before her eyes. Sophia could feel her blood boil as she pieced together the puzzle. She had always suspected something was wrong, but now the truth was clear. Harper had paid off the nanny to disappear with her baby. The thought of it twisted her stomach, and her hands shook as she read the bank transfer details. The nanny had been offered a large sum of money, enough to make anyone's morals waver. But to betray her? To take her child away? Sophia couldn't believe it. The anger inside her rose like a wildfire, burning everything in its path. She had trusted Harper, had even tried to make peace with her, but now everything was different. She had always known Liam was capable of evil, but to drag her child into it, that was a betrayal she would never forgive. The baby, her precious little girl, had been taken. It felt like her heart had been ripped out. How could they do this? How could they take everything from her, even her child? The thought of her daughter alone and scared was too much to bear. She would do whatever it took to get her back. Harper's twisted game had gone too far, and now Sophia was going to make sure she paid for it. This was no longer just about Liam. This was about her baby, and nothing was going to stop her. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. Sophia wasn't expecting anyone, especially not after everything that had happened. But when she opened the door, her heart skipped a beat. Standing there was her father, the estranged billionaire who had walked out of her life years ago. He was older now, his face more lined with age and regret, but still undeniably powerful. "Dad," her voice cracked as she spoke. He hadn't come to apologize. She knew that. He wasn't here for forgiveness, but there was something in his eyes, something fierce. "I'm here to help," he said, his voice cold but firm. "We're gonna get her back, your daughter." Sophia stared at him, unsure of what to say. She hadn't seen him in so long, hadn't even wanted to see him. But right now she couldn't afford to care about the past. Her baby was gone, and he had the resources, the connections to get her back. His wealth, his influence, it was the only thing that could bring her child home. So, despite the years of hurt, she nodded. "How?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her father's lips curled into a small, almost sad smile. "Leave that to me," he said, stepping inside. The The battle was just beginning, and for the first time, Sophia had a chance to win. Days later, after countless calls, negotiations, and hidden hands working in the shadows, Sophia finally had her baby back. She cradled her daughter close to her chest, feeling the warmth of her tiny body against her skin. Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't just tears of relief. They were tears of sorrow. Sophia had her daughter back, but everything had changed. The baby's once sparkling eyes now seemed dull, as if the fear of being stolen had already left its mark on her innocent soul. Sophia kissed her daughter's forehead, promising that she would never let her go again. But the fear, the deep worry that had plagued her since the day her baby was taken, remained. No amount of love could erase the pain of what had happened. No amount of time could undo the trauma her daughter had suffered. As much as she wanted to believe it was all over, she knew that things would never be the same. The scars ran deeper than she could see, and the journey ahead would be long. She held her baby tighter, vowing to protect her no matter what. The damage had been done, but Sophia would make sure that no one would ever hurt her family again. Sophia stood tall in the courtroom, her heart pounding in her chest. It wasn't just the weight of the courtroom that pressed down on her. It was the weight of the truth, of everything she had been through. She was ready. Armed with the evidence, the money trail, and her father's influence, she was determined to make Harper pay for everything. The lawyer for the defense, Harper's, stood nervously as the truth came crashing down. Sophia's attorney laid out the facts, each one more damning than the last. The bribe to the nanny, the fake disappearance, the lies. It was all there, in black and white. As the courtroom buzzed with disbelief, Sophia's heart raced. Harper had thought she could get away with it, that the power and wealth she used to manipulate everyone would protect her. But it hadn't. "I'm suing for kidnapping," Sophia's attorney declared, his voice clear and strong, "and I'm demanding full custody of her child." Sophia watched as Harper's face went pale. There was no way out now. The truth had been laid bare, and the courts had no choice but to uphold the law. Harper's days of manipulating and controlling had come to an end. Sophia was getting her life back, and it was all thanks to the truth she had finally brought to light. As if the courtroom drama wasn't enough, Sophia was hit with another revelation. A will, a fake one, forged by Liam's twisted hand, designed to leave everything to him. The board had tried to keep it hidden, tried to protect his empire, but now it was being exposed for the fraud it was. Sophia's father had a legal team ready, and with a single piece of evidence, the will was declared null and void. Liam had planned to use the forged will to take her legacy, to steal everything she had ever worked for. But with the truth now out in the open, the plan fell apart. The moment the judge ruled, Sophia felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The empire Liam had tried to build on lies had come crashing down. Her voice, her power, her inheritance, it was all hers again. Liam's lies had failed, and now for once, justice was on her side. Liam's downfall was as swift as it was brutal. The moment he was arrested, the room seemed to freeze in time. Sophia watched as the police handcuffed him, his face pale, his lips trembling. He had tried so hard to maintain control, tried to protect the empire he had built on deceit, but it was all unraveling. The charges were too serious: fraud, medical malpractice, theft, and the countless lies that had built his fortune. The board of directors, once loyal to him, now turned on him in an instant, distancing themselves from the man who had brought them wealth at any cost. They had seen enough. Liam was taken away in cuffs, his fate sealed. The empire he had spent so many years building was now in ruins. Sophia couldn't help but feel a small sense of victory. This wasn't just the end of Liam's career. It was the end of his power. His empire was crumbling from the inside out, and for once, Sophia felt free. The man who had once controlled her life was now powerless, and nothing could ever take that away from her. Harper's silence was louder than any words could ever be. Banned from the industry, bankrupt from the lawsuits, and buried under the weight of her own deceit, she faded into the shadows. No one wanted to work with her. No one wanted to listen to her. She had burned every bridge she had ever crossed, and now she was nothing. Her face, once gracing the covers of magazines, her name once whispered in all circles, was now just a forgotten relic of the past. The world had moved on without her. The lies she had built her life on had come crashing down, and now the silence that followed her was her sentence. There was no redemption for her, no second chances, just the harsh reality of her own downfall. Harper had thought she could control everything, but in the end, the truth had destroyed her. Sophia didn't just move on. She wrote her story. The cake was just the beginning, became a viral sensation, capturing the world's attention. It wasn't just a tell-all. It was her truth, her journey from betrayal to redemption. The book exposed everything, the lies, the manipulation, the pain, but it also told of the strength she had found within herself, the courage to rise from the ashes of her own scandal. As the book flew off the shelves, Sophia realized she had rewritten the narrative. No longer was she the victim. She was the hero of her own story. The world had seen her suffer, but now they would see her triumph. Her strength, her resilience were now on display for everyone to see. The scandal that had once nearly destroyed her had turned into her moment of power, and nothing could take that away. Through it all, there was Julian, the childhood friend who had always been there for her. Even when the world turned its back, he wasn't interested in the spotlight. He didn't want the flash, the fame, or the fortune. What he offered was something far more valuable: love, loyalty, and a quiet strength that had always been his. Julian had watched from the sidelines as Sophia fought her battles, but he had never faltered in his support. Now, as they stood side by side, he looked at her with a tenderness she hadn't known she needed. "You're incredible," he whispered, his voice filled with admiration. Sophia smiled, a soft, genuine smile. She wasn't the broken woman she had once been. She was stronger now, not just for herself, but for her daughter and for Julian. Together they had fought through the storm, and now they could finally find peace. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't grand, but it was real, and that was all Sophia needed. A year later, Sophia stood in front of the mirror, her dress shimmering in the soft light. It was the same gala where everything had fallen apart, but this time, there was no shame in her eyes. She wasn't holding on to the pain anymore. This time, she held her daughter in her arms, a living symbol of her strength, her survival. Sophia walked into the gala, her head held high. The whispers began, but this time they were different. They weren't about her scandal. They were about her triumph. She wasn't the woman who had been humiliated by a cake. She was the woman who had turned the tables, reclaimed her life, and found peace. As she entered the grand hall, every step felt like a victory. She had done it. She had overcome everything, and now the world would see her for who she truly was. The final chapter of her story had been written, and it was hers to own. Sophia raised her glass, her eyes burning with determination. She had survived. She had fought, and now she stood tall, unshaken. "To survival," she said, her voice steady. "To truth." The crowd watched, mesmerized by her strength, her resilience. No one dared laugh anymore. No one dared question her. This was her moment. This was her victory. Sophia had taken back everything that had been stolen from her. She was no longer the victim. She was a force, untouchable and unstoppable. And with those simple words, she sealed her place in the world. Nothing could ever break her again.